for Life here, bringing us a brand new Archetype analysis of Gladiator Beast. Now, this is a personal favorite archetype of mine because this is my first tournament deck that I ever built. Whenever I really got serious, I actually darn near topped my first regional with them. And so this deck is very, very, very near and dear to my heart. And I've been wanting to talk about them for a while, but then one of you guys requested I do it. I promised I would. And then I went and not uploaded videos for like 2 months due to school. Well, now that I'm locked in my house, time to start doing this. This is a huge, huge archetype analysis because the archetype is a lot bigger than people think it is, which is a bit crazy. So let's get on with it because we're going to be here for a while. First and foremost, I gotta say, the deck has a main central focus on tagging out monsters after a battle, or in general with other card effects, in order to tag in another monster from the deck in order to get a bonus effect. Typically speaking, it can be anywhere from a utility effect, like destroying a monster or a spell or trap card, or it can be something as simple as just gaining some attack power so you can do it again with another monster. It's really nice in that regard and how it works, although it can be a very slow process because that's how kind of the archetype was initially designed, at least. That being said, it is also a fusion-based archetype. It does have 2 link monsters, but its extra deck is predominantly fusion monster focus, and the fusions are overall pretty good. I would say they only have really 2 especially bad ones, but however, the deck really does something interesting in that it takes what Neos came up with the contact fusion and ramps it up into something even better. For one thing, the fusions don't return to the extra at the end phase, although they can bounce back for the most part and tag out for more monsters, although not all of them do that. But also they shuffle the monsters that you fusion back into the deck instead of, well, banishing them or sending them to graveyard or whatever. So therefore the deck has a really interesting playstyle that focuses on beatdown and control, typically beatdown with its main deck monsters and control with the extract monsters and some of the spells and traps. Now that being said, due to the recent support from about a year ago now, the deck has divulged into 2 different playstyles. You can play it the old way, where you are a beatdown focused battle deck, slow and steady wins the race. You will be just punching monsters, trying to beat over your opponent's monsters, summoning more monsters from your deck. It's a very slow beatdown control deck, and it's honestly my preferred way to play. I love the deck and how it's actually designed to play. And then you got the modern deck that is basically says screw the way that the deck is meant to be played. We're going to play it like any other meta deck where you're going to get out a board of 5-6 negates, maybe even more. The modern way, it's literally just spams out monsters to get a crap ton of negates. And really what it does is it does what every meta deck does, but in a subpar way. Typically speaking, a board that ends with a first turn board, if you open really well and your opponent doesn't negate you with a hand trap or anything, the more modern way to play Glad Beast will typically end on a board of Heraclinius, sometimes Damatianus, along with like Titanic Galaxy and like 3 or 4 cards in hand to negate with Heraclinius. That's all fine and dandy. You know, you get 2 monster negates, well, 1 monster negate, and then multiple spell and trap negates. But really, in all honesty, the reason why that's not as good as it really is for one thing, it's a very fragile method of playing. As I said, a hand trap can screw that over very easily. And also, literally any meta deck out there, for the most part, will be able to do something similar, but better, and with, well, less consistency issues than what Glad Beasts have. So, let's get on with the actual cards. First and foremost, let's get some of the bad crap out of the way. Test Ape. Bet you most of you never even heard about this card. He's a level 2 beast effect monster, 700 attack, 300 defense. When he's destroyed by battle and sent to the graveyard, you can spell summon a level 4 or lower Glad Beast monster from your deck. This saw some play in Duel Links, because back when Glad Beasts were first introducing Duel Links, they really didn't have much. But however, this is a garbage card. I don't really have to linger on it too much. It is kind of cool that, hey, yeah, you spell summoning a monster, until you realize that, yeah, that doesn't trigger the Glad Beast effect. It's not a Gladiator Beast monster, and it's not say nowhere on here does it say treat this as being summoned by a Gladiator Beast monster effect. So the Glad Beast comes out and has no bonus thing anywhere. So it's not like, oh, your opponent can run it over and then, oh, you summon Murmillo and pop a monster. No, that doesn't work. So yeah, this card wasn't played back in the day. It saw some play in Duel Links. Don't play it now, please. Next up, we got Test Tiger, a significant jump from the previous Test monster. Test Tiger is a level 3 beast, effect monster, 600 attack, 300 defense. If you control a face-up Gladiator Beast monster, you can spell summon this card from your hand. You contribute this card and target one face-up Gladiator Beast monster you control, shuffle that target into the deck, then spell summon one Gladiator Beast from your deck, and treat it as if it was spell summoned by the effect of a Gladiator Beast monster. This thing is significantly better. It's not once per turn. It just special summons itself for free, and is just... It triggers the Gladiator Beast effect. So, oh, hey, you drew Test Tiger, a Glad Beast that you don't really care for, or you don't need at the moment, and, oh, you have a bunch of other spells and traps, well, and your opponent has, like, a monster you need to destroy before you can actually go for that attack damage. Normal summon that Glad Beast, special summon Test Tiger, special summon blah blah blah, go on forth. There's a reason Test Tiger has always been a 3-of staple in the deck. I've seen some people play two of them in modern builds instead of 3, but I think that's a bit silly, so I recommend 3. So, but if you really want to go with 2, you can. I mean, I don't see why you would, but 3 is my personal preferred. Like, I've even seen some builds in the modern variant that special summons like a million things, not even play any, which I think is just, what? Moving on, we got Gladiator Beast Murmillo. He's a level 3 fish effect monster, water, 800 attack, 400 defense. If he when this card is special summoned by the effect of a Gladiator Beast monster, target a face-up monster, destroy that target. At the end of the battle phase, if this card attacked or was attacked, you can special summon it. You can shuffle it into the deck, then special summon one Gladiator Beast monster from your deck, except for Gladiator Beast Murmillo. So Murmillo kind of sets up how the rest of the archetype looks. Whenever they are attacked, they get to shuffle themselves back into the deck at the end of the battle phase, provided they're still alive, and then spell summon another Gladiator Beast from your deck. And then, whenever they do get spell summoned by the effect of a Gladiator Beast monster, you get a bonus effect. Now, the little thing that you gotta pay attention to with Murmillo is that his effect to destroy is mandatory. I can't tell you how many times I forgot about that, special summoned himself, and then, oh, there's no other targets, he has to destroy himself. Which is kind of hilarious, but really sucks. So, keep that in mind with some of the cards, as some of them do have mandatory on summon effects, Murmillo being one of them. That being said, just targeting destruction has always been good. So, I mean, some builds play one of them, some don't, especially nowadays with so many cards having protection from destruction or targeting. So, Murmillo may or may not be something to consider playing based on whatever your build is and whatever format happens to be, well, running amok. Moving on, we got Gladiator Beast Rediari. He's a level 3 water aqua effect monster, 1200 attack, 800 defense. Whenever he's spell summoned by the effect of a Gladiator Beast monster, you can remove from play one card from your opponent's graveyard. Then he has a standard tag out effect. So, that Rediari is a card that floats in and out of builds quite often based on whatever the format happens to be. If you got a very graveyard-reliant deck, Rediari might see play, because getting to remove from play a card from your opponent's graveyard is pretty nice. I mean, heck, if you're doing against like zombies and your opponent's got a Balderrock in their graveyard, getting rid of that's kind of important, especially since Balderrock screws this deck over so hard. But I digress. Rediari, definitely a card to consider playing based on whatever happens to be the format. Heck, I would even recommend considering him for the spam build that just focuses on, you know, mass negates based on whatever happens to be the format, because even that deck might resort to beat down if it needs to. So this is something to consider playing as a one-of based on the meta. Next up, we got one of the new supports, Gladiator Beast Sagittari. He's a level 3 wing beast effect monster. It just dawned on me, he has no wings, so how is he a wing beast? He's got 1400 attack, 1000 defense, and if he's spell summoned by the effect of a Glad Beast monster, you can discard a Gladiator Beast card, draw 2 cards, and then he's got the standard tag out effect. Now, the really cool thing about this is it's any Gladiator Beast card, so you can't even discard like spells and traps and stuff, which is pretty cool. I really like like that a lot, just because there are ways to recur spells and traps, and heck, one of the spells can even recur itself, so there's ways to mitigate the cost of the draw. That being said, drawing in Gladiator Beast has never been something that's been super important because, generally speaking, with how they summon themselves from the deck, you don't really want to risk drawing your Glad Beasts, but at the same time, Sagittarius sets up your graveyard for Darius plays, we'll get to Darius later, and also allows you to get to your spells and traps, because that's always been like the really strong suit of Gladiator Beast, at least the beatdown strategy, because then you're able to control the board a bit better. So Sagittarius, I've seen a lot of builds not play any. I've seen some people play 1, some people play 2. So I think anywhere between the range of not playing him at all and 2 of is pretty good. I personally like him as a 1 of because he is just nice to be able to get that extra draw, especially since his deck can burn through its resources pretty easily, which is kind of surprising when you think about it. So it is something to consider. Next up, we got a very pixelated Thorax. Oh my god. So, Gladiator Beast Thorax is one of the worst ones, not just in appearance, but in effect. He is a level 3 fish water effect monster, 1400 attack, 400 defense. He does not have a tag out effect, so he doesn't tag out, and that's just really bad right off the bat. So, if you dead draw him, you're kind of screwed. But on top of that, if you spell summon by the effect of a Gladiator Beast monster, at the end of any battle phase that this card attacked or was attacked, you can return it to the deck to draw 1 card. So, he kind of does tag out, but he doesn't special summon. And sure, getting a draw is nice and all in some decks, but not in this deck. Okay, as I mentioned, Sagittarius doesn't see play in a lot of builds because, generally speaking, drawing is not something Gladiator Beasts have really cared for, and Thorax is a worse Sagittarius. Heck, he's even got very similar stats. If you want to draw in Glad Beasts, play Sagittarius. Do not even consider touching Thorax. He's a very grumpy fish, and there's a reason for that. Moving on, we got Gladiator Beast Sam Knight. He's a level 3 beast effect monster. Earth, 1600 attack, 1200 defense. Has the standard tag in, tag out effect. That's pretty cool. If he was special summon the effect of a Gladiator Beast monster, when he destroys an opponent's monster by battle and sends it to the graveyard, you can add a Gladiator Beast monster from your deck to your hand. This is pretty nice overall, at least back in the day. Get into search on battle destruction is something that like the deck kind of needed like forever ago, but however nowadays there are so many ways to search in the deck that you have access to without needing battle destruction. Heck, this deck has its own e-call, and you can play oh god, what is it called? Tenki. You can play Tenki in the deck, so you really, really, really do not need Sam Knight. He's not even worth considering anymore. He was good like forever ago, but not anymore. So yeah, don't consider him. Next up, we got a card that people sometimes like to test around with, but for the most part gets ignored. Gladiator Beast Secutor. He's a level 4 reptile monster, 400 attack, 300 defense, wind, and he does not tag out. And that means if you draw into him, you're screwed because he doesn't do anything. But if this card that was special summoned by the effect of a Gladiator Beast monster, then at the end of any battle phase in which this card was attacked or attacks, you can special summon 2 Gladiator Beast monsters from your deck except himself. Now, this is where the double-edged sword of why people sometimes consider playing him. Because this dude has the potential to summon 2 monsters from your deck, and that would trigger both of their effects, and it enables so many combos. Like, it is so stupid with how explosive this card allows the deck to be, but he doesn't tag out, so if you dead draw him, you're screwed. And then also on top of that, he's got garbage stats, so you have to have some way to keep him from dying in that battle. The most common way, like this deck's favorite trap card back in the day, and also it's kind of become one of my favorite trap cards that I don't play anymore, is Waboku. It makes it to where your monsters can't be destroyed in battle, and you take no damage from battles involving monsters that turn. So, yeah, Secutor hasn't seen play very often. You do get the occasional person trying to test them out and make them work, because, again, if you can get his effect off, it enables a bunch of crazy combos. But, again, I can't fully recommend it, so yeah, maybe don't play him unless you really want to try and get his effect off, and then maybe consider playing one of them. Next up, we got a former staple of the deck, Gladiator Beast Hoplimus. He's a level 4 rock effect monster, 700 attack, 2100 defense, Earth as well. He has a standard tag out effect, and then if you spell something by the effect of a Gladiator Beast monster, its original defense becomes 2400. Now, there's two main reasons why Hoplimus used to be worth playing. The first and foremost, back in the day when decks were slow and setting a monster was actually viable, you could just set Hoplimus, maybe set some back row, because really, honestly, the deck didn't have many good going first plays, and if you like summon your little Clary, your opponent would be like, oh, you're playing Glad Beast, okay, I'm not going to attack it. Like, you know, so going first, Hoplimus was a really good set because he's got a crap ton of defense, he's more than likely going to survive that attack, and you more than likely got some back row to back him up. On top of that, if you didn't have any other good targets to summon, like summoning him in defense at the end of the battle phase with 2400 defense wasn't half bad either, because then you could just switch them to attack mode and attack directly or something if like you have another monster to run over something, or you got a tag out or like a fusion to make and stuff. So Hoplimus used to be a staple in the deck. There's a reason why he's one of the ones that got secret rared, because he was a staple in the deck for a long time. But nowadays, he's not even worth considering messing around with, so yeah. Then we got his kind of replacement in the most recent wave of support, Gladiator Beast Adarix. She's a level 4 Beast Warrior, so searchable off a Tenki. Again, this deck has a lot of Beast Warriors, which is really good. Earth, 800 attack, 2000 defense, has the same standard tag out effect, which is pretty cool. And then, if this card is summoned by the effect of a Gladiator Beast monster, you can send one Glad Beast from your deck or extract to the graveyard, except herself. Until the end phase, this card's level and name becomes the same as that monster sent to the graveyard. So, this card enables some really interesting combos. There's quite a few Glad Beasts that are like level 7 and 8, so sending like one of the level 8s to the graveyard, which then would allow you to like make a rank 8, like Titanic Galaxy or something, is something that some people have messed around with. And also, she can copy the name, so like sending Bestiari when you don't want to like summon Bestiari enables her to become Bestiari, and then you can make Gyzarus arguably their best fusion until, well, the recent stuff. So, Adarix is a card that sees some play. I personally really like her as a one-of because, again, like, she's not good drawing into, and you don't want to play a huge amount of monsters in Glad Beasts. So, whenever I have messed around with her, I do like her as a one-of. But, however, you can also play her as a two-of, because something to really note here is that it's not a once per turn on anywhere on here, so you can send, you can spell summon two of her and then send 2 level 8s to make a rank 8 or something. It's something that people have messed around with for quite a bit with her, so depending on your build and what you want to do with Glad Beasts, she's a 0 to 2 of, in my opinion and in my experience from looking at other stuff and my own personal preferences with Glad Beasts. Moving on, we got the bestest boy, Gladiator Beast Bestiary. He's a level 4 Winged Beast, 1500 attack, 800 defense. He's got the same standard tag out effect, and then if he was special by the effect of a Glad Beast monster, target a spell or trap card on the field, destroy it. This card was limited for like 5 years, something like that, maybe even longer. And it's not so much because of him, it's because of his fusion, Gyzarus. Bestiari is the, oh my god, when he came back to 3, people flipped out, because, again, Glad Beast used to be a tournament viable, not even just viable, but one of the top tier decks for a while, and even then, this deck still has a soft spot on a lot of people's hearts, and Bestiary was unjustly on the ban list for way too long, because, forgot his name, there's some dude at Konami who hated this card and, said that, oh, this card's gonna stay on the limited list forever, and yada yada yada. This card doesn't even see play in the meta build. By meta, I mean, if you want to actually have a chance at topping a tournament build. So, yeah, that's just kind of funny. Depending on if you're playing the beatdown build, or if you're playing the, I'm going to make 5 negates on the first turn build, you're going to play either 0 or 2 of them. He's not really worth playing at a 3. You definitely don't want to play one, because if you like lose him or he gets banished or something, you lose access to the best fusion from the original wave of support. So yeah, he's a good 2 of if you're gonna play him. Now, if you're playing the meta build that like just focuses on making a crap ton of spams, he's not even worth playing, because they don't play any of the ones that don't special summon or have like some sort of utility effect. Moving on, we got Ygopro. He's the level 4 Wind Wing Beast, 1600 attack, 1200 defense. Same tag out effect, and again, this is one of the ones that, like, actually is still pretty good. Like, so anyways, whenever he's special by the effect of a Glad Beast, target a Gladiator Beast card in your graveyard, add it to your hand. This is a card that some people play, and some people don't like. It really comes down to, again, the build you're playing. I've seen some of the, spam builds play 2 of them. I've seen some spam builds play 1, and I've seen some spam builds play none. And then the beatdown builds generally play 1 to 2 of them, because he's a recurable resource, basically. Like, you summon him, he's got decent stats, he's going to be able to get back your spells and traps, and the biggest thing is that he gets back your War Chariot, which doesn't even see play in the meta build, so I don't know. Like, oh god. So yeah, Ygopro is a card that, like, it really comes down to whatever your build is in terms of playing, but he's a really good recurable resource here, just gets back your stuff. And unlike Sagittarius, he actually has wings. Next up, we got Gladiator Beast, Demakari. This is another card that used to be a staple in Gladiator Beasts, and now doesn't see much play, if any. Same tag out effect, and then if he's summoned by the effect of a Glad Beast, he can attack twice during each battle phase, which is pretty cool, so you can potentially do 3200 damage if you're attacking directly. He used to be like the deck's main way of getting damage in, because just being able to punch twice with him is pretty good. Nowadays, though, he doesn't see much play, if any. I've seen some people still play 1 of them, but for the most part, nobody plays them in any build, so it really comes down to whatever you want to do, especially if you do want to play him just for that extra bit of damage, but yeah, he doesn't see much play anymore nowadays. Moving on, we got one of the best boys, Gladiator Beast, Darius. Level 4 Beast Warrior effect, 1700 attack, 300 defense, and he has a standard tag out effect. But also, if he's summoned by the effect of a Glad Beast, you can target a Glad Beast in your graveyard, special summon that target, but its effects are negated by this card, and is shuffled into the deck when this card leaves the field. So yeah, he's literally a monster reborn whenever he's summoned, and he used to be the deck's only way of really being able to get out multiple monsters in a go, which he combos really well with Sagittarius, by the way. So being able to summon out a monster and potentially make a Fusion Link or Xyz play or something is really, really good overall. That being said, some people play 1, some people play 2. I've seen one build that played 3, but I don't really think that's good, because he can be dead very easy. But however, playing 2 to 1 is really good, because he just is such a big comboer. Personally, I'm a big fan of playing 2, because if you summon 2 and you just get 4 monsters right there, it's really, really, really nice. So yeah. Moving on, we got Gladiator Beast Tigris, a card I didn't even know existed till I did this. Okay, so he came out in Extreme Victory, 1800 attack, 800 defense. This card cannot be used as fusion material. I can end it right there. I can end it right there. I don't care what else this thing does. It can't be used as a fusion material. But I digress. Whenever you special summon by the effect of a Glad Beast monster, you can discard a Glad Beast card to add a Gladiator Beast monster from your deck to your hand. And holy crap, he doesn't even have a tag out effect. What is this card? You can't use him as fusion material. He discards a Glad Beast card to add a Glad Beast monster. Okay, so you can't even add any Glad Beast card. No, he discards a Glad Beast card to add a monster from your deck to your hand. You can't tag out, so if you dead draw him, you're screwed over. This card is not good at all. Like, at all. What the hell? Don't play this, please don't. Moving on, we got Gladiator Beast Lanista, a card that Konami made specifically to replace Bestiari, because they refused to put Bestiari past 1, but oh well. So he's got the standard tag out effect, which is pretty cool. If you're summoned by the effect of a Glad Beast monster, target a Glad Beast in your graveyard, banish it and that target, and this card's name becomes that target's name until the end phase. Yeah, he wasn't played back then, and he doesn't deserve play now. Don't bother with him. Moving on, we got Gladiator Beast Laclari. Used to be a standard, like 2 of, sometimes even 3 of in the deck, because he's your main way of actually getting the tag outs going, being the highest attack Glad Beast that actually is normal summable, and also has the tag out effect. And nowadays, he doesn't even see play at all in the meta builds. In the beatdown builds, he's still worth playing as a 2 of, but in the meta builds, nope, not even worth considering, because why bother playing him when you can just cheese out the fusion that he's material for anyways. So, anyways, I guess I should also mention his effect. Other than tagging out, whenever he's tagged in, he becomes 2100, which is really good, and was your main way of triggering more tag outs and tag ins and stuff. Not to mention, as I have listed here, he is the fusion material for one of the deck's best like big negators and one of their best fusions. So yeah. Moving on, we got their normal monster Andal. Not much to say here other than that you play 3 if you're playing the like spam build, because you play Bunny in the spam build, so Rescue Rabbit. I mean, it's pretty simple and standard. I don't really know what else to say. So yeah, don't play any in the beatdown build, but do play 3 if you're playing the Bunny build, because Bunny is best boy. Moving on, we got Noxious, Gladiator Beast Noxious. He's a level 5 Beast Warrior effect monster. 0 attack, 1000 defense, dark. Has standard tag out effect, which is pretty cool. And then whenever your opponent's monster declares a direct attack, you can spell summon this card from your hand. If you do, change that attack target to this card and proceed to damage calculation. This card cannot be destroyed by that battle. If this card is spell summoned by the effect of a Gladiator Beast monster, like itself, you can send a Glad Beast monster from your deck to the graveyard. At the end of the battle phase, if he has the tag out effect. This card is actually like really good overall. He's a definite 2 of in the beatdown build, just because like your opponent's gonna punch through your stuff no matter what, and getting a like hand trap that can potentially not only send a dude to graveyard but also then tag itself out is really good. But he also sees play in the meta build, because not only does he set up your graveyard, but also he's a level 5. And that's important because one of the other best fusions in the deck needs 2 level 5 or higher Glad Beasts. So this card is really good overall. He sets up your graveyard. He is a hand trap, which is nice. And then also he just is a level 5, which is actually like important for a lot of the deck's spammy techniques. Moving on, we got one of the other cards that I bet you never heard of. Gladiator Beast Spartacus. He's a level 5, 2200 attack, 1600 defense. This card cannot be spell summoned except by the effect of Gladiator Beast Toppleness. So, you can't even like Monster Reborn him or anything. He has to be spell summoned by Hoppleness, which is really, really sad. When he is spell summoned, add a Gladiator Beast equipped spell card from your deck to the graveyard, from your deck to your hand. At the end of the battle phase, if he has the tag out effect. So he searches out the equipped spells. Now this deck has 4 equipped spells. Okay, 1 is good, and even that doesn't see play. So yeah, there's a reason nobody's heard of this card. Don't play Spartacus, please. Gladiator Beast Alexander. Hey, another card that most people haven't heard of. And a card that I actually used to play back in the day. Because he can only be spell summoned by the effect of Demakari. If he was spell summoned, it is unaffected by the effects of spell cards. And then he has a standard tag out effect. So he wasn't half bad back in the day, because you could summon him off of Demakari. And he's unaffected by spells, which is really, really cool, with 2400 attack power. So, like, especially back when, like, Dark Hole was, like, a really popular thing. Being able to have him and just as a beater that's unaffected by spells, that was nice. But nowadays, with Demakari not even seeing play in a lot of builds, he's not even worth considering as a joke. So, yeah, don't play Alexander. Then we got their new, like, other level 5 or higher monster, who's actually pretty good. Gladiator Beast Vespasius. Jeez, there's no R in there. Why did I think there was an R? So Vespasius is a level 7, Water Sea Serpent effect monster, 2300 attack, 0 defense. At the start of the damage step, if your Gladiator Beast monster battles a monster, you can spell summon this card from your hand. You don't use this effect of Gladiator Beast CS once per turn. Now you control this card, spell summoned by the effect of a Gladiator Beast monster, like himself. All monsters you control gain 500 attack. And then he has the standard tag out effect. This card is really good overall for Glad Beast, especially the like beatdown build, is you can attack with like your Laquari, the effect of Vespasius, special summon him. Your Laquari jumps up to 2300. He's at 28, so that is pretty good overall. He is also fusion material for one of the new fusions, so he is a pretty good fusion, monster overall. And it is worth considering as playing as a 2-of for the beatdown build. I have seen some of the meta builds consider playing one of them because he's another really good level 5 or higher, but for the most part he doesn't see play in that deck. So yeah, it just comes down to what your personal preference is. Moving on, we got Octavius. He was another attempt to replace Bestiary because apparently they thought that popping spells and trap cards was the important part. So when this card is spell summoned by the effect of a Gladiator Beast monster, target a face-down spell trap card in the spell trap card zone, destroy that target. At the end of your battle phase, if this card attacked or was attacked, shuffle this card into the deck or discard one card. Yeah, he forces you to either get rid of him or discard a card, and he's got 2500 attack, and he's level 7. So, garbage. Don't even consider. Next up, we got Gladiator Beast Augustus. I believe he's level 8. Dark Winged Beast effect monster, 2600 attack, 1000 defense. Awesome artwork, awesome design, and an awesome effect. He's got the standard tag out effect, and also on top of that, whenever he's tagged in, you can summon a Glad Beast from your hand, but shuffle into the deck during the end phase. This card is amazing and is one of the big reasons why the meta build works as well as it does, because you typically will summon Augustus. Augustus will typically summon Noxus or another Augustus, which will then trigger their effects, and it's just so stupid. Augustus does not negate the effect of the monster summoned, unlike Darius who does, so therefore you get to just basically get the ball rolling with him. Due to this, he's typically played as a 1-2 of in either of the builds. Typically speaking, 1 in like OG build because you don't want to dead draw into him because you have no way of getting him out of your hand. And then I've seen a lot of these spam builds play 2 of him because he's level 8, and also that's like just really good because he is both fusion material for editor and also is level 8 for potentially making Titanic Galaxy or any of the other like big level 8 negators. So really, really, really good card overall. You just gotta be careful about dead drawing into him because that sucks. Next up, we got, starting with the extract, Gladiator Beast Esadari. He's a level 5 fusion, needs 2 Glad Beast monsters to go into, 2500 attack, 1400 defense. He has no real effect other than his summoning clause. And that unfortunately does come up quite a bit because I can't tell you how many times where back in the day I would be playing him, I'd make him, and then opponent would Phoenix chain him, so I can't attack with him because he's technically an effect monster, even though he doesn't have an effect. So, yeah, this thing is, he's just kind of used as fusion material for bigger things nowadays. You can also shuffle, like, there's a combo I've seen where, like, you'll make your editors, and we'll get to editor here in a minute, and then you'll fuse off the editors into Esadari by shuffling them back into your extract, and then you could, well, it basically forms a loop because then the editors can fuse off of Esadari and it gets really, really stupid and is kind of hilarious. So Esadari is typically played as a 1 or 2 of, depending on your build and everything. I've even seen some people play 3 just to do the editor loops. Pretty good card overall. Moving on, we got Gladiator Beast Gazaris. This card is the reason Bestiary was at 1 for so long. He's a level 6 fusion effect monster. Needs specifically Bestiary and a Glad Beast monster to go into. You shuffle your fusion materials into the deck in order to summon him. He tags out for 2 monsters after he battles, which is really cool. And then whenever he is special summoned, whenever he's special summoned, period, doesn't care how. So if your opponent kills him, you can call a Haunted him back during your opponent's turn. Which was something that people would do quite a bit. Whenever he is special summoned, you can target up to 2 cards on the field, destroy those targets. Yep. this thing pops too, and it's just really good overall. He's got great stats. If you're playing the OG beatdown build, he's a really good 2 of. But however, if you're playing the meta build, he only really sees play as a 1 of. Some of you don't even play that because you mainly just use him to special summon to get rid of anything that might get in your way of making the combos work. So that is something to consider. But overall, I personally really like him as a good 2 of in the beatdown, 1 in the more spam build. Then we got a card I guarantee you probably don't even remember. This card is Gladiator Beast Diaz. He's another level... Actually, no, he's level 7. Holy crap. 2600 attack, 1500 defense. He needs Spartacus to make, and that right there is why nobody's played him. He needs Spartacus to make. And then he needs another Gladiator Beast to go into. He can only be special from your fusion deck. This thing hasn't even had an errata. It hasn't had a reprint. Konami doesn't even remember him. But yeah, it can only be summoned from your extract by returning the above monsters you control, yada yada yada, contact fusions. When he destroys a monster by battle and sends it to the graveyard, inflict damage to your opponent equal to the defense of the destroyed monster, and then he tags out for 2 whenever he battles. He's Flame Wingman with better stats, but worse fusion materials. Oh god, all I can do is laugh. Oh, that's all I can do. Let's move on. Next up, we got Gladiator Beast Andabada. Andabada. I could have sworn they pronounce it like Adabante in the freaking anime, but I digress. He needs Augustus and 2 monsters to go into. Must first be special summoned from your extract by shuffling buff cards you control into the deck. You do not use polymerization. Standard contact fusion shenanigans for Glad Beast. If summoned this way, you can target, so you can special summon 1 level 7 or lower Glad Beast fusion monster from your extract, ignoring its summoning conditions. At the end of the battle phase, if he battled, you can return it to extract, special summon up to 2 Glad Beasts from your deck. He's another really good one overall. He tags out for 2. He summons a dude from your deck, which is really nice overall. However, he only gets this effect if summoned properly, so it doesn't happen often. I've seen the spam build play 1 of him in some situations because they do play Augustus, and it does come up from time to time, and he can cheese out Editor and other stuff. So Anabata is something to consider playing as a 1 of, especially now that we finally are able to summon fusions back into the main monster zone. Because, god, this thing went from being even considered playing to not even considered playing due to Master 4. And he released like a good 2 months before Master 4 hit us in the TCG, which sucked. It really did. I'd also gotta say I love his design. Then we got Editor, the card I've been kind of talking about quite a bit. This thing is annoying, and is what makes the spam build work. So he's a level 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. 2 needs 2 or level 5 or higher Glad Beast monsters to go into. Must first be special summoned by shuffling above fusion materials, yada yada yada. You cannot use this fusion material. Oh, okay. I don't know why I was thinking that you could use them as fusion material with Esadari. Where did I get that from? I saw somebody say that in a video, so they were wrong and got me confused. Dang it. Cannot be used as fusion material, which sucks, so you can't cheese them with Esadari, otherwise you could do that, which would be hilarious. Once per turn, you can special summon 1 Glad Beast fusion monster from your extract, except a copy of itself, ignoring its summoning conditions. At the end of the battle phase, if your Glad Beast monster battled, you can shuffle that monster into the deck, or extract special summon a Glad Beast monster from your deck. So while he doesn't tag himself out, he does tag others out, or he can tag himself out if you need to. And it just dawned on me, I think Editor's a girl, judging from here, but it's really hard to tell in the picture. I digress, though. It's weird. Where was I going with that? Oh, yeah, it can tag itself out, but that's not the important thing. It cheeses out any of the fusions. Any of them. The spam build, what they will typically do is they will spam out 2 of these to spam out, to cheese out the 2 negators, okay? Who we are going to get to here in a minute. And that's where that goes into. Now, because you can't use Editor as a fusion material, though, what you got to do is you got to use it as like a season material or something, because it is a level 7, which allows you to make level 7 plays. So there is that as well. But however, typically speaking, what a lot of people do is they'll link it off or something, and then there's other ways to special summon it back using the effect of like Gladiator Beast comeback and stuff like that. So typically speaking, it's just spam, cheese out other big things, and it just results in a lot of shenanigans. Moving on, we got Gladiator Beast Nero Caius, a personal favorite of mine just because he looks so freaking cool. Oh god, 3 Gladiator Beast monsters to make though. That killed it for a lot of people, but he's a pretty good monster overall. Cannot be destroyed by battle. If it's attacks or attacked, your opponent cannot activate cards or effects till the end of the damage step. And then at the end of the battle phase, once you battled, you can shuffle him back into the extract and then summon 2 from the deck. This is a really good monster overall. He's a decent one of just for being a powerful 2800 beater that can't be destroyed in battle, and also prevents your opponent from activating anything whenever he does battle, which results in a lot of shenanigans. So, pretty good card overall. I like him a lot. Just play one of them, regardless of what build you're playing. He's just a really good option for the deck. Next up, we got the first negator and the original Gladiator Beast Heraclinius. This card, he needs a Clory and 2 Gladiator Beast monsters to make. Cannot be special summoned except by shuffling the above cards you control into the deck. Obviously, there's ways to cheese that out. During each person's turn, when a spell trap card is activated, you can discard 1 card, negate the activation, and if you do destroy it, this card must remain face up on the field to activate and resolve its effect. Basically, what you're saying is if your opponent chains Book of Moon to it, you can his effect gets negated because he's not face up on the field to resolve the effect. But, however, this is not once per turn. It's up to however many cards you have in your hand. And getting this guy out, along with having a bunch of back row to negate monster effects, was the main win condition of Glad Beast back in the day. The main meta build just does it better and faster nowadays by cheesing him out, along with his new buddy, Domitianus. Domitianus is I believe level 8 or 9. I can't remember. I think he's level 9. 3,500 beat stick of a fusion monster, and oh my god. So he needs Vespasius and 2 more Glad Beasts to go into. Obviously, we can cheese them out with editor. Kind of goes without saying. Once per turn, when your opponent activates a monster effect, as a quick effect, you can negate the activation if you do destroy it. You choose the attack targets for your opponent's attacks, and at the end of the battle phase, if he battled, you can return it to the extract, special in a Glad Beast from your deck. It does suck that he only gives you 1 Glad Beast, but it doesn't matter because you're not shuffling them back often, if ever. The big thing is that this is a big fish who negates monster effects and controls which monsters your opponent attacks. This protects your other weaker Glad Beasts and forces your opponent to attack him. This is mean and very obnoxious to deal with, especially if you do have Heraclinius out with him, because Heraclinius will negate the spells, Domitianus will negate a monster effect, and if you have a War Chariot to back him up, you'll get another negate. So, really, really good card overall. He's a good 1 to 2 of based on your build. Same thing with Heraclinius. It really just comes down to what you're doing with the deck. Moving on to the links, we got the worst of the 2, Gladiator Beast Dragasis. I have no idea if I'm pronouncing that right. Whatever, I don't care. He needs 2 Gladiator Beast monsters to go into. If a Glad Beast monster you control attacks, or it cannot be destroyed by that battle, which is pretty cool. Also, your opponent cannot activate cards or effects until the end of the damage step at the end of the battle phase. If this card battled, you can return it to the extract, special in 2 Glad Beasts with different names from your deck. This card is just okay. It's just okay. I believe he came out in Japan in Link Frames Pack 1, and he was considered to be one of the worst in Frames Pack 1, and it's pretty easy to see why. He really didn't do much for Glad Beast. He's a good one-of because of his good arrows, but with Master Roll 4 revision coming around to just kind of get rid of the relevancy of Link arrows, it doesn't matter too much. The battle protection is nice, but it would be a lot better if it also applied whenever your opponent's attacking it. I mean, if freaking arrow mages get a link to do that does that, why can't Gladiator Beast, which is a battle-focused archetype, get it? I digress, though. He's a decent one-of if you're considering it, but however, for the most part, he's been completely cut from the deck, partly because of Master Revision, and also because we got Test Panther. Test Panther needs 2 monsters, including a Gladiator Beast monster to go into. It has really good link arrows. Not that it matters anymore for Glad Beast, but oh well. He's 800 attack. If this card is linked to someone, you can add a Glad Beast card from your deck to your hand. Any card. Monster, spell, trap, whatever you want. Awesome. You can target Glad Beast you control, special that monster into the deck, and if you do, spell summon a Glad Beast from your deck with a different original name. You can only use each effect to Test Panther once per turn. This card is amazing. Okay, just getting to search any Glad Beast, and then also basically being a once per turn walking Test Tiger without having to tribute itself off. This card is just bonkers and is what makes the deck work. There's one specific spell you typically search off a Test Panther, which we will get to here shortly, that basically makes it to where you just are able to shuffle, like just spam out so many monsters, it's ridiculous. So, Test Panther, definitely good, a good 2 to 3 of, definitely play at least 2, maybe even 3 of them. Then we get to the spells, and we start off at a really sad point. The field spell. Yeah, Glad Beasts have a field spell that most people don't even know exists. Coliseum, Cage of the Gladiator Beast. Field spell, obviously. Place 1 counter on this card each time if a monster is supposed to from either player's deck. All Glad Beast monsters gain 100 attack and defense for each of these counters on this card. If this card would be destroyed by a card effect, you can discard 1 Coliseum, Cage of the Gladiator Beast to prevent this card from being destroyed. What? Okay, so I actually don't mind the attack buff too much. Gladiator Beasts, for being a battle-focused archetype, have very mixed stats, and a lot of the time they're not very good. So, getting an attack buff over time is pretty nice. Sure, it can take a while for it to really get up there to be anything relevant. But, for getting counters on it, Why does it got to discard another copy of itself to protect it from getting destroyed? Okay, why does it not have an effect to where, like, oh, if it would be destroyed, you can remove a counter from it instead? Like the Lightsworn field spell has. The Lightsworn field spell does effectively the same thing as this card, but better. How many of you even knew that Lightsworn's had a field spell? This card... I don't like it. Let's move on. Then we get to the equip spells. More garbage. Yay. Gladiator Beast Battle Archfiend Shield. It's the equip spell. Equip only to a Glad Beast monster. If the equipped monster be destroyed, destroy this card instead. When this card is sent to your graveyard because the equipped monster you control was shuffled in the deck, return it to your hand. That last bit is actually something I really like among all the Glad Beast equipped spells because they recur themselves whenever your Glad Beast bounces, which is really cool. If only any of them were actually good. Archfiend Shield is okay at best, but it's like just not good. Then we got Battle Gladius. It boosts your Glad Beast by 300. We got Battle Halberd, which lets you destroy a spell or trap card at the end of the damage step. This is actually like the best one because you get to pop a spell or trap card every time your Glad Beast attacks. Really fun to equip on the Democary and be able to pop 2. So I'm just gonna say that now. I played as a 1-of in Duel Links because that deck has that. Duel Links has like no back row destruction, so they kind of need it. But oh boy. Then you got Battle Monica, whatever the heck a Manica is. It basically does the same thing as Shield, but it only prevents the monster from being destroyed by battle. Don't play any equip spells. The only one worth playing is Halberd, and even that gets outclassed by much better spell and trap card destruction. Heck, it gets outclassed by Bestiary in the deck, its own archetype. And even then, you only play Halberd in Duel Links because there's no freaking back row destruction in Duel Links. So, yeah. Moving on, let's move on to some actually good stuff. Battle Gladiator Beast Respite. Shuffle 2 Glad Beast cards from your hand in the deck, then draw 3 cards. This card is basically a +0 because it counts itself. So, like, you, counting itself, you get rid of 3 cards to get 3 new cards. The big thing is that basically lets you shuffle your hand around and get your Glad Beast back into your deck so that you can hopefully draw your spells and traps. And it's just nice on paper, not so nice in practice. It's an okay 1-of if you really want to try it out to be able to basically mulligan your hand. But for the most part, I don't recommend it. Moving on, we got Gladiator Beast Proving Ground. It's E-Call. Add a level 4 or lower Glad Beast from your deck to your hand. You play 3. I don't need to really exaggerate on that. Next up, we got Gladiator's Return. If this card is a Gladiator Beast card, I'd actually consider it, but it's not a Gladiator Beast card, so it's not searchable, and it's not recurable off of a quest, which is really stupid. What is this card anyways? You target 3 Glad Beast cards in your graveyard, shuffle all 3 in the deck, and then draw a card. I guess they made it to where it's not a Gladiator Beast card in name, so then you can't also shuffle itself back and be able to keep going, but it's not good. If you really want to be able to recur stuff, there's Pot of Avarice is back. Play that. Then we got another good spell, Indomitable Gladiator Beast. It's a quick play spell. Target a face of Glad Beast you control. It gains 500 attack until the end phase. That's not the important part, although it does come up every now and then, especially with the beatdown strategy. While this card is in your graveyard, you can return 2 Gladiator Beast monsters from your graveyard to the deck to return this card to your hand. This card is effectively like an infinite resource for Heraclinius to be able to have something to discard. So I really like this card as a one-of, just as a recurable resource for Heraclinius to be able to keep negating. It's also nice for the beatdown strategy to just have an extra 500 attack whenever. So it's an okay one-of, although I can see why a lot of people don't want to play it at all. It's just down to you. Moving on, we got a card that makes me go, what? Gladiator Taming. It's a quick play spell, a secret rare and extreme victory for some silly reason. If a face of Gladiator Beast is on the field, activate one of these effects. Select one face of monster your opponent controls and change it to its battle position. Considering enemy controller used to be heavily played in Glad Beast, this is effectively an enemy controller for Gladiator Beasts, which is pretty cool. But however, enemy controllers is better. Especially when this card does also have a take control of an opponent's monster effect like enemy controller. This is literally enemy controller, but worse. Okay, select one face of Glad Beast your opponent controls and take control of it until the end phase. What? It's good in a theoretical mirror match, but it's not worth considering even as a joke. Okay, enemy controller hasn't seen play in Glad Beasts in forever, and this is a worse enemy controller, so don't play it, please. Moving on, we're getting to the good stuff again. Gladiator Beast Comeback. It's a normal spell. Special on 1 Gladiator Beast from your hand or graveyard. If a different type for the monsters you control, it cannot be destroyed by battle. This is not once per turn. Play 2 to 3. Please, it's a good monster reborn. Moving on, we got their Fusion spell. What? Yeah, it's a quick play spell. During the battle phase, shuffle into the deck from your hand, field, or graveyard the fusion materials that are listed on a Gladiator Beast fusion monster. Then spell summon that fusion monster from your extra deck, ignoring its summoning conditions. You can only activate 1 Gladiator Beast United per turn. You cannot declare attacks the turn you activate this card, except with Gladiator Beast monsters. This card is just really good overall. I personally like it as a 1 to 2 of, so it's just down to whatever you want to do with your build. Then we got Gladiator Rejection. This is the main card you're searching off a Panther, okay? So, Gladiator Rejection, it's a continuous spell. Your opponent cannot target Gladiator Beast monsters you control with card effects except during the battle phase. If a Gladiator Beast monster or monsters is spell summoned from your main deck except during the damage step, you can spell summon 1 Gladiator Beast monster from your deck with a different type for the monsters you control in defense position. You can only use this effect of rejection once per turn. This is a really good 3 of. Not only does it offer protection for your Glad Beast, but it also allows you to summon another monster from your deck once a turn. This card is just flat out amazing. It's a really good combo with Test Panther. And by the way, you either search this or come back off of Test Panther. It really comes down to whatever you need, because since you typically play 2 to 3 of each, you typically grab whichever one you don't have. So there's that. Moving on, we got the crappy negation duo for the traps. Disarm and Parry. Both of them return a Glad Beast from your hand to the deck to negate the activation effect of either a spell card for Disarm or a trap card for Parry. If these were 2 trap cards combined into one that had Gladiator Beast in the name, they would not be half bad. You know, a Gladiator Beast counter trap that returns a Glad Beast from your hand to negate the effect of a spell trap card would be pretty good, but this is a duo of just garbage traps that I was not going to waste 2 slides for. So let's move on to a good counter trap card, Gladiator Beast War Chariot. Counter trap card when when a monster effect is activated. If you control a face of Glad Beast, negate the activation, and if you do, destroy it. This card used to be a 3 of in the deck and was your main control build, because you'd get Heraclinius out, you'd have War Chariot to back him up, Heraclinius would take care of the spell effects, and War Chariot would negate the monster effects. Used to be a 3 dev. It used to be a 3 of like staple in the deck. And nowadays, if you're playing the beatdown build, you play 2 of it. There's better options for the most part. The big reason why you play this is because it's searchable and it's recurable. And then for the spam build, you don't play it at all. I've seen maybe one person play 1 copy of it just because it's searchable and recurable. But however, in the spam build, you got so many other negates that are just better. You don't play War Chariot. So it really just comes down to whichever build you're playing and whatever you want to do with the deck. Next up, we got Gladiator Lash. Activate only when you're supposed to win a Gladiator Beast monster. Your opponent discards a card of their choice. If it was at random or you get to pick, it'd be a lot better. But this card is just, it's not good. And heck, a lot of decks want to get their stuff into graveyard, so don't even consider it. And then we got Defensive Tabix. Tabix? Can you tell I've been recording this all in one take? I always do this. I don't know why I do it, but I do it. Defensive Tactics. It's a normal trap card. If you control a face-up Gladiator Beast monster for the rest of the turn, monsters you control cannot be destroyed in battle, and any battle damage you take is reduced to 0. After this card resolves, put it on the bottom of your deck. It's a recurable, technically speaking, Waboku for the archetype. As I mentioned before, Waboku was a 3 of staple in Glad Beast for a really long time, and this was made to be a, like, archetypal Waboku. It's not good, though. 2 big reasons. First and foremost, you can only activate it when you control a Glad Beast monster, and it only negates battle damage by, well, also no, it does also prevent any battle damage, which is nice, but it only can be activated when you control a Glad Beast, and that's the big thing. Okay, Waboku you can activate whenever, so therefore if like your opponent's attacking you directly and you control a Glad Beast, you can activate Waboku and take no damage, which is really nice. It saved me from many OTKs. This card can't do that. Also, if they're going to make an archetypal Waboku for the deck, why not also make it have the archetype's name in the name? Because then you could actually, I don't know, search it, recur it, whatever. You can't do that. And that sucks. So, it's just not even worth considering. So, yeah, I mean, heck, considering Waboku doesn't even see play in the deck, this isn't even worth considering either. Double Tag Team, this is literally what freaking Rejection does, but in a trap form and released way back when the deck first came out. Activate only when you special summon a Glad Beast monster, special summon a level 4 or lower Glad Beast from your hand or deck. It's not worth considering playing, just play Rejection instead, please. Next up, we got the most what card in the archetype, Trojan Gladiator Beast. Special summon a Gladiator Beast from your hand to your opponent's side of the field and draw a card. Okay, I get what they're doing here. Okay, there are some shenanigan combos with this. Okay, for instance, off the top of my head, flip over Trojan Gladiator Beast. Special summon a Murmillo to my opponent's side of the field. Okay, normal summon a Gladiator Beast monster that has more than 800 attack. Literally most of them. Run over to Murmillo. Effect of the Glad Beast that I just attacked with. Shuffle back in the deck. Summon Darius. Darius effect, bring back to Murmillo. Main phase 2, make Esadari. That is something that you can do. Is it good? No. No. This is not good whatsoever. There's also the combo with Gladiator Taming, where you can summon a monster and then just take it. I mean, you can do that too if you really want. Why does this have Gladiator Beast in the name, but freaking any of the other decent trap cards that would have been decent if they had Gladiator in the name? And don't. This card makes my brain hurt. Next up, we got some good stuff again. Gladiator Beast Charge. Target face-up cards on the field up to the number of Gladiator Beast monsters you control with different names. Destroy them. This sees a lot of play in the control build because it's really, really good for just being able to destroy stuff. By control, I mean the standard old school beatdown build. The meta spam build plays maybe one of it if they consider it, but for the most part, it doesn't get played at all. So, really, it just comes down to whichever you're playing and what your personal preference is. I like it as a 2 of. It's searchable, it's recurable, it's pretty decent, gets to pop stuff. And hey, it can also pop spells and traps. It's not just monsters, so there's that too. So, yeah. Then we got Gladiator Now Machia. Continuous trap card. When you control a Gladiator Beast monster, all monsters your opponent controls must attack if able. So it's literally all out attack first, whatever the heck that trap card is called. Once per turn, you can shuffle one Gladiator Beast from your hand or graveyard into the main deck. Then target a Gladiator Beast you control. It gains attack equal to its original defense until the end of this turn. For some Glad Beast, that is really pathetic, but for some others, it's actually not half bad. Like, for Darius, sorry, not Darius, the Quarry, he has 400 defense. That's only pumping him to 22 if he, 25 if he was special by his own effect. Okay, well, Hopple Missile will gain a massive 2100 defense. I mean, attack points, which puts him at 2800 attack. Which, in some situations, isn't half bad, but what? If this card in the spell and trap card zone is destroyed by a card effect, you can activate this effect. This turn, Glad Beast monsters you control cannot be destroyed by battle. Okay. It's got 3 decent effects. It's not searchable and it's not recurable because it doesn't have Gladiator Beast in the name. So, it's just okay. It gets outclassed by many other options that are much, much better. So it's not even worth considering playing for the most part. Just don't. And that is it. So what are my thoughts on Glad Beast overall? The deck is currently having a bit of an identity crisis, okay? Do you want to play it as a slow beatdown deck that is very traditional to how the deck is meant to be played and is just a grindy deck? Or do you want to play a meta deck that's done badly? Do you want to be able to build massive amounts of negates, or do you want to be able to slowly pick apart your opponent's board and their monsters and fight back using spells and traps and monsters? And wow, I am really making the OG build. I am not hiding my bias at all. I don't care. Okay, Glad Beasts are a deck that are very near and dear to my heart. And this deck has very little room for improvement because it just has everything. This deck has all the utility it could want. It has all the fusions it could want. It has all of the spells and traps and everything that it could want, but yet it's just never going to see the amount of play or the amount of consistency that the other decks will see nowadays. Unless like they get some really bonkers main deck monsters that effectively completely replace the old ones and heck even the newer ones from today. So this deck is really, really mixed. Now, which one do you guys want to do? That comes down to what kind of play style you prefer and what, like, kind of a deck you like. I just realized I said the same thing twice. It really comes down to you, okay? This deck is either really good or really bad based on whichever you are preferring and all that. So, I don't know. Just as much as this deck has an identity crisis, I have a mixed opinions crisis. I love this deck, but it has a lot of flaws. Even the spam builds have issues. Like, just off the top of my head, since they rely so heavily on getting Bunny on board, if you don't open Bunny, you're basically playing OG Glad Beast for a while, and so you can get the spam going. And if you do get the Bunny, and your opponent negates it with Ash, you are screwed. And then there's so many other issues with the deck that just results where a single hand trap, a single impermanence, a single negate, anywhere along the way, it really screws it over. So that's another reason why I prefer the OG build, because honestly, the meta spam build is just not that much better. Because, yeah, it just is so fragile. So, with all that being said, I really like this archetype. If I could give it a grade, I'd give it like a B+ in modern standards, because it's just not quite there, but it's able to do some impressive builds with its boards and everything based on whatever you got. I digress though. What do you guys think about Glad Beasts? Do you like it? Do you hate this deck? Did you play it back in the oldie days whenever it was a really good meta deck? Or are you considering picking it up nowadays now that we're going into Master Rule Revision? I'm considering repicking it up, but I sold all my expensive stuff like forever ago, and I am regretting that. I miss my Portuguese ulti Heraclius. I miss that so much. But I digress. What do you guys think? Thank you for watching. Have a good day. It's your birthday. Happy birthday. Stay inside. Stay safe. See y'all later. Peace out. Thank you all for watching the video. Have a great day. It's your birthday. Happy birthday. Rate, comment, and subscribe. And see y'all later.